Hey, welcome to X's and O's. I'm Jeff Harrison.
I'm Leslie Spoor.
Leslie, in every one of the shows we talk about something. You bring up a topic, or I bring up a topic, and you solve the question. Is something that will help small businesses either get started or sustain. But today we're going to talk about exit strategies. I mean, that almost feels like a failure thing to me. And I know you have some stats that are really important to get started with. So where do you want to start today?
Well, first I want to explain what exit strategy means so that people don't take it as a negative connotation. But when you first start your business, everybody's super excited and there's all these ideas. And it takes a long time to even decide that you want to start your business because it's scary to do, right? But once you do decide to go forward, now your brain's full of all these possibilities and all these options, and people fail usually to think about what happens at the other end of the startup when I want to get out of it. Either I want to retire or I want to move on to something else. How am I going to get out of this once I start it?
Yeah.
It's not like you can just submit a resignation.
No, because that's your business, right?
Right.
Yeah. I remember the very first time that when we first started our business, Amy and I started a business, we sat down with the accountant and whatnot. He says, well, what's your exit strategy? And we're like, well, we're just now forming a corporation, right? I mean, that was an awareness thing, right? Because it's almost like so different than when you go in and you have a job. Mm-hmm. The first thing they do is they don't sit you down with HR and say, okay, let's talk about your exit strategy. Yeah. You're like, wait a minute, I just got hired, right?
Exactly.
So, that is uncomfortable. It's a different feeling.
Well, it's a different feeling, and as a small business owner, you really need a plan for this, and you need to think about it right up front, because if you don't, you could kind of put yourself in a bad situation. And I'll talk to myself as an example. I had a job I loved before I started my company, and I didn't quit it, and I didn't lose it. I made a conscious decision to go off by myself because I felt compelled for several years to do this, right? It just was like an overwhelming, burning desire to go forward. And so I finally made the leap, and I was so excited, and it's been a great ride so far. It's been super successful and really good. But what I didn't think about was, what am I going to do when I go to retire? And what happened to the Social Security that I stopped paying myself, and all kinds of things like that. So I want to talk a little bit today about some things to consider. And we do have a download for you that has other things on it. We're going to talk about just one aspect of this today. But I want to give you some statistics first. Okay. Before I do that. So
before you do that, as you're talking about this and you talk about the downloads, those will be available below the video. You just click on that and you download that. So you want to make sure you get that. So this will make more sense for you.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes some sense.
It'll make some sense for you. So a couple of the statistics that I wanted to share with you are, did you know, for example, that 70% of all smart businesses start out of the house?
All small businesses start at the house? Mm-hmm. Wow.
70%.
That makes sense. I mean, let's face it, you have your business start out of the house and still in the house, right?
I'm still in the house, and I made a decision to do that because it didn't make any sense to have the overhead of another location.
Because you really don't have walk-in traffic, right?
No, I have no walk-in traffic, and we go to everybody to help them, so there really is, or it's telephone work or whatever, so it's not necessary to go
just
there.
Be an added expense. Right. Okay, that makes sense. 70%.
So cool. 70%. Also, in the first couple of years, 50% of small businesses that start up, are going to survive, and I think that's a good statistic to know, because everybody talks about all the time about how hard it is to start a business and how high the failure rate is, but 50% is as good as anything in life, right?
I think that's higher than the success of marriage.
I think so too.
So if you're thinking about starting a marriage or a job or a business, maybe go down that business first. No, I'm just kidding.
He's married, so don't let him tell you that. Happily married.
That's right.
Okay. But a third of all businesses that are started, small businesses, only survive 10 years. So you go from a 50% up to about 4 years, down to 30% at 10 years. So what would you think is one of the primary cause of why a business might not survive?
I mean, could it be, maybe the owner dies?
No.
No?
No.
I mean, that would really kill the business.
You're so funny.
I'm here for the jokes.
I apologize on his behalf. No, the primary reason is lack of money and funds.
Okay.
Because most small businesses are funded by the person who started the business out of their savings or from their friends and family, but most of it comes from themselves, and almost everybody underestimates how much they're going to need. So keeping money back, and that's another thing, is that because you need all your cash to manage your business, a lot of times you don't pay yourself for a while. So it's a kind of a catch-22. We come back to the fact that you're not paying Social Security and that sort of thing, right? And then the other thing that I really wanted to share is that, and I'm looking at notes here because I can't remember all these statistics.
And these are downloadable, so you'll have.
Yeah, you can just search for this and find it. Is that people lack of experience, or what this document is classifying as incompetence, but I think it's really not knowing what you don't know in order to run your business.
Like what do you mean? I mean, it's like, hey, I'm a mechanic. I fix my own car, so I'm going to open up an auto body place, right?
Right. But do you understand how much inventory to keep and what kinds of inventory for that auto body shop, and how many other mechanics do you need to hire, and is there any seasonality to what you're doing, and what are your prices, how competitive are you with other body shops in the area, and there's a whole bunch of that sort of, and how are you going to market that business, right? So there's a whole bunch of things to take into consideration when you start a company that a lot of people don't know they need to think about.
I see that a lot, where business will open up very short period of time.
Yeah.
And you know that the people that open it up are extremely skilled at that specific thing. And then 6 months later, they're out of business.
Right, and the sadder part of that is that if a lot of people go into business because there's something they do that they love. They love cooking, or they love sewing, or they love to work on the cars. I mean, there's all different things that people love to do, but when they start the business, because of the nature of running your own company is challenging, they can lose the love for that hobby that was a hobby before, and that's really sad. But if you have the right guidance and the right people to help you, then you can leverage what you know how to do best and focus on that and have other people take care of other things.
So number one was lack of funds.
Lack of
They
funds.
ran out of money, and the second is they
Lack
really
of knowledge.
lack of knowledge.
Yeah, business knowledge.
Okay.
Not that they're not smart, but business knowledge.
Okay, those two make sense.
Right. So when you go to talk about exit strategies, now you have to think about, where am I going to be? If a third of these businesses survive for 10 years, after 10 years, I can pretty much guarantee you're going to start thinking about, what do I do now? Am I happy still doing this business? Do I want to diversify into some other kind of things? Do I want to just stop it altogether? Or maybe, like me, you're getting old and you want to retire someday.
I'm not getting old.
I am getting old. So, how are you going to do that? So right at the very beginning, when you are first forming the thought of how to start a company, you need to look into your crystal ball and say, where's this company going to be in 5 years or 10 years, right? That's the first thing. Are you going to hire employees? What surface area are you going to have? All kinds of things to take into consideration. But the biggest thing to take into consideration is, how do I make my business valuable? Valuable to somebody else, or their perception of you is value. How are you going to do that? So I have a few things I'm going to recommend. Okay, one of them, and the number one, is always policies and procedures. And we talk a lot about policies and procedures, and we do talk about it a lot because it is critical to building a business that is sustainable.
Is that so important, Leslie, because of the fact that if it's, let's say, for instance, again, using Amy and myself as our business, we're the owners, that we have to prove that this business is successful just because of us anymore. And policies and procedures say anyone could step in and follow those policies and procedures and still keep the business running. Is that why that is so important?
It is, because and it's also important for growth. Okay, when you're going through the growing pains of your business, and all businesses go through this as they grow and you start to bring in people to help you, it's difficult to manage the quality of what you've done. You, as a small business owner, you've pretty much done everything up to this point, and you have a way that you like to do things, and you have a way that your clients and your customers expect the quality to be.
Okay.
When you start to bring in other people, that can suffer if you don't have a way to teach and train people how to behave in the way that you want them to behave.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
Policies and procedures help that, and we've talked about that quite a bit. But what they also do is that if say you think you want to sell your business someday, if somebody comes along and they're looking at your company as a viable investment, right, they're going to look at it and say, what reputation do you have, which is another thing that helps you create value, that you have a good reputation. And if you're the face of your company, which most of us small business owners are the face of our company, how can somebody new who comes in to buy it continue the success that you've enjoyed when everybody likes you and what you do, right? Policies and procedures allow somebody from outside to have some sense of confidence that they can continue to run the business the way it's been running, so that the transition to a new owner is transparent for the clients and the customers.
Gotcha.
Right?
So if somebody stepped in and took over, let's say, one of your business's executive errands, your customers ideally would not want to see them have any effect.
Right. No
And
impact to them.
the employees the same thing. That it's just, it's business as
Seamless.
usual. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you need it to be
Gotcha.
seamless, and policies and procedures help that happen. If you saw the movie Founder, which was, I don't know if you went to see that. I know we talked about it before.
did.
He hasn't
work
made
all the
time.
time.
I know, but if you go to see the movie Founder, it's about Ray Kroc and how McDonald's got started. And one of the things about McDonald's, I mean, McDonald's has been around as long as I can remember. I can remember when they had 15-cent hamburgers, as much as I hate to admit that.
Yeah.
And so they always taste the same. From 40 years ago to now, they still taste the same. Why? Because they have policies and procedures on how they do what they do. Right? And even though the ingredients have changed somewhat over time, the quality of beef and maybe the potatoes come from different places and everything, they still have a process that makes sure that their food is consistently the same. Whether that's good or that's not good is a personal decision, but they are a perfect example of somebody who has good policies and procedures and can all their franchises operate the same way.
Yeah.
Right?
That's exactly right. Okay.
So, and you can pick anything. You could pick a pizza place. You could pick, I'm kind of on restaurants right this minute, but you could pick...
it's that time of day.
Yeah, you could pick Walgreens. I mean, you could pick any kind of department store, anything where when you walk in, it feels like it's the same, whether you're here or on the East Coast or anywhere.
So you want those same tools in place, and in this case, it's a policies and procedures.
Right, and they really do help create value for your business. Okay. Another way to create business is to incorporate your business.
Okay.
Because then a potential new owner, and I'm going down the assumption that you're going to sell for today's conversation, not...
So these are keys to increase the value of your business for selling.
For selling, so that you can exit gracefully and go on to something else, or retire, maybe to the beach. I don't know. Okay, it's a pipe dream.
There you go. Well, thank goodness the beach isn't that far away.
I know. So if you incorporate your business, obviously you're protecting yourself. That's part of the point of incorporating. But it also shows a potential buyer that you're serious about what you're doing and that it's been protected all these years. And it's less likely that there's going to be any skeletons in your closet about potential lawsuits and that sort of thing. Less likely. Not impossible, but less likely.
Okay.
Okay. Another one is to trademark your business.
Really?
Yeah. Trademark your logo.
Okay.
Trademark the company so that you own it.
Okay.
So a potential new investor doesn't have to worry about any conflict or infringement upon what you're doing.
Okay, so you're not talking about, or are you talking about, so let's say, for instance, our company is Swing Point Media. That should be trademarked.
Oh, absolutely.
And how difficult is that?
It isn't at all.
Really?
As a matter of fact,
it sounds scary, like, oh my God, I got a trademark, right?
Trademark's really not that difficult, and it's not expensive either. Now, back 11 years ago, when I got the first trademark, I owned several trademarks, but when I got the first one, I went to an attorney. I got a great attorney who does that. And I'm sure you all have attorneys, because if you're running a business, you should have some legal counsel somewhere along the way. And an attorney can do it for you. And they do the search, and they file all the papers with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, I think it is. And they make sure that that you're not infringing on anybody else's trademark before they give you one.
Gotcha.
Okay. And one of the keys about trademarks, by the way, is that the words that you are trademarking cannot be too generic. For example, in my executive errands trademark, executive and errands are both generic words. but it is the logo in the middle, the icon that we have with those words that is trademarked.
Oh, okay.
So it's the whole entire thing.
Cool. Okay. So sometimes you got to be a little creative.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's what we just did with the software. We added Concierge Business Solutions to the front of that name. It's Essential Elements is the name of our software, and that's way too common, Essential Elements. So we add Concierge Business Solutions Essential Elements, which is really long, and then we can trademark it.
Okay, but it's key to trademark it, though.
It is key because it makes a difference to potential investors.
Okay.
Right? Somebody who want to buy your business. They want to know that you have protected everything you created.
Gotcha.
Right? So likewise, so I was going to say, you can go to an attorney and have them do it, or there's a place online called Trademarkia.
Oh, Trademarkia.
Trademarkia.
Okay.
Right? And you can go there and do a search and file your own paperwork to get a trademark.
So it's really not that difficult.
It's not, but I would definitely do your research. I wouldn't just throw money at something, right? I always recommend legal counsel when it comes to stuff like this because this is your future.
Yeah.
Right? And so...
And you're not an attorney, right?
I am absolutely.
I'm not an attorney.
I'm not an attorney.
I don't even play one on TV.
Yeah, no. Not an attorney. So when we talk about finance or legal up here right, for this, the purpose of this, I'm usually telling you what I've done, just what I've done, my experience, and that you should always seek financial and legal counsel before you go off and embark on any of these areas.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
Okay, but same with copyrights.
That was our disclaimer game.
Yeah, and then copyrights are the same thing. Although I did find out, and you can copyright online too. The government has a place to go to copyright documents, which is really simple to do, and it's it's about $35 a document or so. So depending on, you want to be selective on what you copyright. But if you just even put on there that it's copyrighted, the mere mention of it does protect you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know that either till recently. Yeah.
So if I put on there, okay, like if I came up with this was like my logo as an example, I put copyrighted on there, just because I put it on there, the intent is there.
That you're protecting it, right?
Interesting.
But not so for trademarks, so don't misunderstand that.
Okay.
There's a difference, but if you say that, I want to protect this because I own its proprietary information, the government does recognize that. So if you get into some kind of legal battle, at least you put the intent out there to do it,
gotcha.
Right? But not with trademarks. So we want to be careful.
Be very careful. So these are interesting things. So
yeah.
So
those are the things that just for today that I wanted to talk about as far as making your business valuable, right?
So these are things that even if you don't think about them right away, like the day you first open your business, I had all these things in place. These should be things that almost like building blocks you should work on, like a policies and procedures, and maybe like when Amy and I first began, I think almost right away we put together a corporation. Because I'd already done that in 2 other companies that I owned, so I knew that was the process we need to get, and so we did that right away. The policies and procedures are something that we are continuous. I mean, it seems like it's always a living document.
It is a living document, and as we've talked about policies and procedures in the past, you do need to have some kind of policy for a review of policies and procedures on a certain frequency to make sure they're still current. I mean, it's not enough just to create them. You must maintain them as well because your business is a living, breathing creature and it's always evolving.
Yeah.
Right? So you want to make sure that you do that. And another area, too, that helps create value that I just thought of because we're talking about it, is your marketing collateral. So from a business perspective, I've always been a believer in not skimping on business cards, brochures, folders. When I counsel other people, I tell them that when you go to do a presentation for a potential new client, you want to take a professional folder. And mine have always been logoed. I invested it to buy logoed folders, but you don't have to do that. You could get one that's in the color of your logo and put a nice label. With today's technology, it's easy to create your own and make it look nice. But eventually you do want to invest in professional looking marketing collateral. So the cardstock we use is always heavier than normal, and we always put an aqueous coating on everything so it feels nice. And even from the very beginning, I had people asking us if this was a franchise.
Because of the quality.
Because of the quality of what we created. And so going forward, when you do, assuming your exit strategy is to sell the business, having marketing collateral that is professional and high-end makes a huge difference.
Interesting.
I mean, we have all seen business cards that you can create online with a template. Right? And you get, 100 of them for $10.
Or 100,000 of them for $10.
Or yeah, and I can spot them a mile away at a mixer. I know instantly which cards are, and there's nothing wrong with those. It's just a difference in the quality of what you're presenting.
Sure.
And so if you're starting a company and your funds are limited, absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you can, it's better to invest in a really nice, good business card, because why? Business cards are representing you when you're not there.
Sure.
Right? And so what perception do you want to create when you're not there?
High end.
High end.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
So that's, it's all about creating value as you go along. And so you have to keep this exit strategy thing in your mind right from the get-go. And, I didn't think about that. And so I'm sensitive to it because from a case study perspective, I am not somebody who thought about that in the beginning. I did create the marketing collateral and do the trademarks and create the policies and procedures, but not because I was thinking about an exit strategy, but because I come from a corporate environment, and that's how we did business.
Yeah.
Right. That's how I'm trained to do business.
Well, one of these times I want us to talk about, and I think it'd be beneficial for those people watching, is walk us through what, and I think we talked about policy procedures before, but really, are there some things that we can do, like, hey, here's a step by step by step. How do I start building this? Because to me, when I first hear policy and procedure, I'm thinking like, oh my God, that's a big cumbersome document that I have to do. And meanwhile, I'm still running my business, and I don't really have time to do that. I don't know if you feel that way, but that's sometimes how I feel. And so it'd be nice to say, hey, let's just take this a little bit at a time. Let's eat this elephant one bite at a time instead of trying to eat the whole elephant. Right. That would be kind of fun to do that.
Well, we could do that. I'm sure we'll come across this topic often because I'm a big proponent of policies and procedures.
Well, something else, and I just realized this, is you actually have a policy and procedure webinar, do you not?
I do.
So it takes them through that.
It takes them through that, and it also, we can create a template for your business so that you can, and teach you how to write your own policies and procedures, or we can help you. It's not a trick really to doing it, but it's a knack. People learn in different ways, and so when you create a policy or procedure, the fewer words you use, the better. The more images you use and bullet information, short, concise sentences, all of that stuff helps people learn, and then ensures that they're going to operate the way that you want them to operate. And really, that's the bottom line of a procedure. And if you think about it like that, it'll help you to write your own, because you want them to do what you do. Because you're successful, you've made it to 5 years or 7 years or 10 years. Yeah. And so as you grow, you want the people that come in to help you to operate the same way. Yeah. And then you'll be valuable to somebody looking at you from the outside.
So today we talked about exit strategy, but not exactly. We talked about how to add value, so when the exit time does come, you're actually adding more value to the company that you own.
Right.
Okay.
Well, yeah, and I guess we should have clarified some of the actual exit strategy is that you need to know where you want to take this business, and you should know it as early as possible, because where you want to end up will affect the decisions you make as you build your company. Right? And the path that you take, and the geography in which you work, and who your ideal client is, and a lot of the things that we talk about every week in here are all affected by where you're going to end up.
Yeah. Well, why don't we dive into that part next week?
Okay.
And let's say today is definitely, hey, how to, first of all, know that you should have an exit strategy, and secondly, what can you be doing along that path to build value, not only in your sales and whatnot, but having the market collateral, like you said, and making sure you have the policy procedures in there, and all those things that add, I'm going to say, ancillary but significant value, besides saying, hey, I have this book of business. If I'm a dentist, I say, well, I have all these people that are clients.
Right.
But then, you ask me, well, where's their records? I don't have any information on them, but they do come in. Well, all of a sudden, that business isn't so valuable, is it?
Right.
So
why? But why? Here's the question. So why is that business not as valuable without records as another dentist office who has records?
Because there's no sustainability of that business. It's as soon as that person leaves, there is no business.
Right. Where do you go and market? Who do you market to? Really is the exact answer. But what you said is true.
Yeah.
The exact answer is that in a dentist office, what do? We get a card twice a year that says it's time to come in for a cleaning and a checkup. If you don't have a record of who you've seen, how can you follow up and get the repeat business that you need?
That's a cavity that cannot be filled.
God, you're just awful today.
Sorry,
I'm so sorry.
Sorry. I was trying to bridge the gap.
I'm just trying to pick different businesses for you. I'm trying to show you.
There.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
I think we're done.
Okay. Well, I hope you got some value out of this. Now,
but not his jokes, just the rest of it.
Yeah, those are copyrighted and trademarked, so you can't copy those. So look below the video, and there's going to be a link there where you can download your information, and you've got a guide for them.
Yeah, and what I'd like to make sure people understand, and we should talk about this more too, is that the little guide that you download from here is a short one. It's like 3 lessons, right? It's just 3 little tips. But that we take that and I turn that into a newsletter, and then I'm going to turn that into a tips booklet of 10 things to get there. So if you download the short one, the short lesson list that's here, and we get your email, we will add you to the newsletter so that you can get a broader understanding of this particular topic.
Yeah.
Right, so we're building on everything we talk about because we only have a few minutes here each week, and we want to give you as much value as possible.
Yeah, and before we let you go, some things that Leslie doesn't talk a lot about, but she has 3 businesses she runs very successfully, but she also helps other businesses through mentoring and consulting. How do they get a hold of you on that?
Well, you go to our website, which is conciergebusinesssolutions.com, and there are 3 S's in the middle there, so it's Concierge Business Solutions, plural.com, and you can click on our products page, you can click on the contact us page, you can click on our education and see all the different things that we do and help clients so that they can be successful. Right?
One of the things I love about your whole website and the idea is it's on demand. So I can say, it's like a buffet, if you will. Hey, I'm ready for this. Let me download that particular webinar, eat it, digest it, put it into play, and say, okay, now I'm ready for the next thing.
Yeah. Or documents, or
absolutely.
Whatever you need is there. I mean, it just helps somebody over the weekend who has an opportunity to expand their business, and they were having difficulty coming up with a response to some of the requirements, and so I helped them wordsmith a response. They were very happy with that. So all the way down to just generating an email, all the way up to helping you write proposals. Literally, I do everything I can to help you be successful.
Cool. Well, Leslie, thank you again for a great program, and